this video, I'm going to show you how to take your WordPress posts and show them inside of a Google map. So what we're going to do is add our posts inside of the WordPress dashboard, add a custom post type with custom fields, and then go inside of Elementor, add an advanced map widget, and populate that widget with the posts that you want to show on your map. Without no more further ado, let's jump in and get started. To start creating our advanced Google map, we're going to need 3 plugins in our WordPress setup. The first plugin is called Unlimited Elements, and that's going to be used for the Google Maps widget. So you're going to need the Pro version of this installed and activated on your WordPress website. Other than that, you're going to need 2 other plugins. The second one is called CPT UI. CPT UI means Custom Post Type UI. For this plugin, you're going to be able to use the free version. And the third plugin you're going to need is ACF. That stands for Advanced Custom Fields. And in this plugin as well, you're going to be able to use the free version. So other than Unlimited Elements Pro version, you can have ACF and CPT UI free version for the use case that we're going to show today. I've already installed all 3 plugins and activated what I've needed, and so we can jump in and get started. The first step is adding a custom post type. In short, what that means is, as you can see, everyone that installs WordPress has posts. But other than posts on my website, you can see that I have team members, I have movies, events, cocktails, cities, Olympics, shakes, and stuff like that. So these are called custom post type. And it's a technique inside of WordPress to add different types of data and categorize it differently, because these types of posts are going to have other types of data inside of them. So we don't want everything all together, because usually people use posts for a blog or something like that. It's not a must, but usually we're going to want a custom post type to add our data. And in our case today, we're going to add Google Map locations or places from around the world, and we're going to use posts inside of the Google Maps for the data inside of the Google Maps. So the first thing we're going to need to do is actually go down to CPT UI, and over here I'm going to add a custom post type. Now, this might sound a little bit complicated, but it's very, very simple. The first thing is you're going to need to have a slug. A slug is sort of for internal use. It's like a unique ID, and it's also will be used in the URL. In some cases, you might not see it even anywhere. It's just an internal name. You'll see it over here on the left side. So the plural label, that means plural, I'm going to add locations. And for the singular label, I'm going to add location. I'm going to click Add Post Type. And that's it. I mean, it doesn't require anything other than that. And now you can see it over here on the left side. So that was pretty simple, right? Another thing that I like to do is add a custom taxonomy. What is a taxonomy? A taxonomy is sort of like WordPress categories, if you're familiar, but it's going to be a different set of categories or subcategories to separate my data. And later on, I can use this separation to filter the data inside of my map, inside of my post list, or whatever. So it's really, really, really useful. Let's close these 2 notifications, and I'm going to scroll down to CPT UI again, and I'm going to add a taxonomy this time. So for the taxonomy, I'm going to call it location type, and this is going to be location types, and over here location type. Now it's asking me, to what post types do you want me to add this taxonomy? And of course, I want to add it to locations, but depending on your use case, you might want to add it in more places. Before clicking Add Taxonomy, we just need to change one more thing over here, which is this part. Over here, we're going to change that to true. And this is going to kind of change the type of how we input the data. And I'm going to show you that later. But once we've changed that, and it's not a must, but I think it's easier to edit it that way. And it took me kind of a long time to find where that setting is. So I click Add Taxonomy to add that taxonomy. And just make sure that you choose whatever post type you want to add that to. So we've got our custom post type set up. Let's just see how that looks before adding the custom fields. So over here, if I click locations, you can see that this list is empty, but it's a separated, like, sort of type of a folder inside of my menu, and I can start adding different data inside of here. And over here, I'm going to put all the places that I want to show later on in the Google Maps. Let's see actually how this looks inside over here. And you can see it looks like a regular post. It has a title, it has text, it has a featured image, and it also has the types that we've added earlier. So over here, I'm going to say if the location is a restaurant, or if it's something, a nature attraction, and if it's a hotel, stuff like that. So that's how we do that. But before we're going to start inputting data, we need to add over here two more fields. Because we're talking about Google Maps and places inside of a map, we're going to need to add the latitude and longitude of each place inside of different fields over here. Now, inside of WordPress, we do that using a third-party plugin, which I mentioned earlier, and this is going to be called ACF. So over here, I'm going to add a new field group, and I'm going to call that field group locations, because this is going to be just for the locations. And over here, we have an option to add a field label. So I'm going to call that latitude, and I'm going to click tab on my keyboard, and it populates the field name. So I'm going to close this field, and I'm going to add a new field, and I'm going to call it longitude. Click tab, close field, and before we're going to save changes, we need to tell this to which post type we want to add these two fields. So the post type we want to add these fields to is called locations, and we've just added it. So over here we can see location, and I'm going to click Save Changes. If you want to see how this looks like, we're going to go over here to our locations, and I'm going to click Add New Post, and I'm going to make sure that these two new fields have been added. Those were not here just a minute before. And another thing that we want to make sure before we're going to start inputting data is that we have the Google Maps widget installed from Unlimited Elements plugin. And again, you're going to need the Pro version of the plugin if you don't have it yet. So over here, after you install, activate, put in your license, you're going to have access to all the Pro widgets. And the widget that we're going to use today is over here in the marketing widgets, but we can also search for it if we search using the search bar. And if it's not installed, once you hover over it, You can just click install. It takes a couple of seconds and that's it. You're going to have it inside of your Elementor setup. So we have everything set up, and the next step is to start adding locations. Now, to add my list of places, I'm going to search using ChatGPT because I'm not sure about the places that I'm going to add. What I'm going to do is a map about Austria, and I'm going to want the top 10 nature attractions or trails, lakes and stuff like that to add to my post list. And except for that, maybe we'll do hotels or something like that. So let's write over here in ChatGPT, top nature attractions in Austria, like trails and lakes. And list of 20, and then we can select whatever we want. So over here, that's going to give me an idea of places. After I got the idea of places, we can just take one of these places, and I'm going to copy it. And inside of Google Maps, I'm going to use the search bar, paste that inside, and click Enter. And over here, it took me to that location inside of Google Maps. Now, in my case, I'm just going to use one of the pins over here. So we'll use this pin. And when we stand on this pin, if you right click, you're going to see the values for latitude and longitude. So we're going to use those later on. But before that, let's copy the name of the place. And I'm going to save the image as well. It's always better to have custom images if you can, depending on the copyrights. You can also use Unsplash or some commercial free. But just for the first example, I'm going to use this image just to make that quick. After we got the location, let's go back to our WordPress setup, and I'm going to click locations, and now we're going to start inputting the data. So I'm going to click add new post, and we're going to paste the name of the place. Using ChatGPT, we can also give me a description, 2 sentences, let's do 2 sentences. Maybe one is enough. Maybe what we have over here is enough for this location. And we got that. So I'm just going to copy and paste that over here into the text. The next thing we want to do is add the featured image and paste that over here inside. And we're going to click set featured image. So we got that set up as well. Go back into the Google Maps, right click, and then just stand above these units and click on them. That's going to copy them to the clipboard. And over here, I'm going to paste both of them. But then I'm going to take off the comma over here and separate those into 2 values. And other than that, we're going to add a location type. And over here, we don't have any types yet, but I'm going to choose nature and add that. Once I click enter, it's going to add it and also select it. And for other places that we're going to add, this one is already going to be existing and you can use it. But if you're going to add another type like hotels later on, then you just need to type that in and click add new location, and it will add another type. So we can add as many types as we want, and this is really useful and easy to use. This can later on be used for filtering. Okay, so we got that set up. Now, because I don't want this video to be too long, I'm going to stop the video now, and I'm going to start adding about 20 locations, or maybe I'll do 5 nature and 5 hotels, something like that, just so we can start editing the widget on our page. So I'm going to see you in a few minutes. So I've added all of my posts over here. I've added 5 nature locations and 5 hotel locations, and I've assigned each one to the correct taxonomy. I've added a featured image to each one, the latitude and longitude, and added a description. Now we can jump into our Elementor canvas and add the Google Maps widget. So over here, you're going to have 2 Google Map widgets. The first one is the native one for Elementor, and the one that you want to add is the unlimited Google Maps one. So I'm going to drag and drop that inside of my canvas, and I'm going to take you step by step to see how we can configure this. So the basic way of configuration is just going over here into places and adding each place manually. And you can give each place a name and stuff like that, and then the latitude and longitude. But we're going to use a different type of source. Instead of adding our data manually, we're going to add it dynamically using our posts. Before we're going to do that, we want to set up the default location of the map. So to do that, we're going to go into the general settings, and right now it's showing New York Times Squares, and instead of that I'm just going to show Austria, which is the place that we've added all the places. And you can see that we have over here a zoom level of 13, and I think that's a little bit too much zoom. So I'm just going to go back a little bit using the down and up keys, and you can see that this is going to be adjusted as we change it inside of the settings over here. So I'm going to go a little bit back, maybe one more, and then later on we can adjust it depending how we see our markers on the map. I think most of the places are going to be over here, so maybe later on we'll do this city, but let's see how that turns out, because this is my first time doing this. And the next thing, after we set that up, we're going to go into source, and over here I'm going to choose posts, and right now it's just going to bring all the posts from our WordPress website, or actually it's bringing in the last 10 ones, but it's using the post type posts, which is where I have my blog, and that's not what I want. So we're going to need to set up our posts query that determines which post to show. And that part is over here in item post query. Important to understand and notice, this part shows only after you choose item source post. And depending whatever you choose over here, it's going to change the settings over here. So it's not just post. I mean, you could maybe want to add something else over here, but in our case it's post, and that's the most common use case. And over here it's saying post type posts, and that's not what we want. What we want to add is actually the location. So I'm just going to click on locations, and right now it's adding all of the locations that we've added. And you might want to separate these into categories if like you're doing more than one country or stuff like that. But in our case, all of the places are from Austria, and that's good for us. The next thing that we want to do is actually show these on the map, because right now when I click on one of these places, this is not working. The reason it's not working is because it cannot find the latitude and the longitude. Those are custom fields that we've added, and you can see these as the first fields over here. So we're going to click on this, and then it's asking us, from where do you want me to bring this data? And the place that we want it to bring this data is from a post meta field. And those post meta fields we've added earlier using ACF. Once we tell it, bring this data from post meta field, it's asking us, what's the name of that field? And we were very straightforward when doing this. So we're just going to put in latitude over here and longitude over here after selecting post meta field. Now, after we've done that, the pins on the map should start showing up. And there you go. Here are the pins on the map. Let's click on one of the pins, and you can see that it's showing the featured image by default, because over here, by default, when using a post, it's going to populate it by the post feature image, as in the title that it's added the post title. We can also add a source for the content. In our case, we used post content for the content, so I'm just going to click on that, and now it's going to populate the content of each one of these. So let's see how that looks like. Awesome. The text is kind of big. We can fix that up. And we can start styling this part over here. So let's start adding some style, starting to close our design a little bit. And maybe at the end, we can also add filters. So over here, inside of the navigation, we can show an image. So let's do an image thumb maybe and see how that looks. Awesome. So now we have thumbnails for each image, which is pretty helpful. And maybe we can show a search bar just so people can filter this a little bit easier. That's also pretty helpful. Let's go into style, and we can change the height of our map if we want. So for example, we can make that 700. You know what? Let's do something a little bit unique. Let's change our section to full width, and let's go into our container, turn off the padding so everything is snapping, and over here in the map, instead of in pixels, I'll give it 100 VH so that spreads out nicely on our whole screen. That's kind of cool. And let's go into navigation. We'll make our navigation a little bit wider, so maybe like 320. That looks better. And we can edit a little bit the text over here, so that would be maybe under info window, and we can change the content typography to maybe 12 pixels. We can maybe give our title, make it a little bit bolder. That looks better. And another nice feature that we have over here is you can add buttons to this info window. You can also add more information. I mean, this supports a lot of types of information. If we go down to info window, you can see that you can add an address and a phone and a website and a business hours, and all these will be shown nicely in an icon list. But we can also add buttons, and we have two button types. One is for the learn more, and once we turn that in, we can see that this can go to the post. So this button over here can just open up the post, and if you want, it could also open up a dynamic pop-up, which is really, really awesome if you want like a quick view of the place. And another option over here is that we can add a quick navigation inside of Google Maps. So this is really, really useful. I mean, if you're wanting to give your users a good user experience, you could just add this map and they can view it from mobile. Click on that, and that's just going to directly navigate them using Google Maps, which is the power of Google over here. So that's a really, really nifty tool over here. And I think to finish this up, I just want to show you how we add filters, because this is another reason or another way to show the advantage of unlimited elements. So we're going to add, or actually before we add filters, we're going to go down here into post pagination and filtering, and I'm going to tell it to enable post filtering. So that's just telling it, make this map filterable in an easy way. And the next thing is to add the filters. Now, inside of unlimited elements, there are a lot of filter types. These are widgets like the Google Maps, so you're going to need to install them before you use them. But the one that I'm just going to show off today is the tab filter. This is the most common one. and it's the easiest one to use. And you can see that once I've added it, it's bringing in my post taxonomy or categories, which is the default inside of Elementor. But like we've done in the posts, we also over here, we can select different types of post types. So I'm going to go down to the location and it says select taxonomy. So over here, I'm just going to select a taxonomy, and you can see that by default, just showing all, which is going to be the first selected, it's going to show all of the places, but then I can filter it to hotel or nature. Let's click update. Now this part works only in the front end. So if you want to see how it works, you're going to save and preview. And a really nice thing about making this into separated widgets is that it's really flexible in terms of layout, responsive behavior, design, and style. Let's click on hotels, and this should filter our map to show only the hotels. How nice is that? Let's click on nature, and now it's going to show only the nature places inside of our map, which are these ones. If you click on them, it's just going to show you a quick info. If you want, you can add a quick view button, a Google Map button, close this window at any time, and we can make this full screen, stuff like that. So really, really useful. And you can also add a reset button over here if you want. That will zoom out and show all the markers again. You can cluster your markers together. This is a really, really advanced solution. You can see that over here, this is a live filter. So whenever we start typing in super fast, I mean, it just live like that and jumps to the place. Perfect. And I think that's about it, actually. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you have any questions, you can post them in the comments. Of course, we'll be there to help you out. I want to thank you guys for joining, and I'm going to see you in the next video.